Good evening. Good evening. I want to welcome you and say happy Thursday. Welcome to What's Going On. I'm your host for this evening, Dawn Michelle, and we have a very special guest with us, Miss Kimisha King. She is a Jill of all things. I mean, she's a podcaster, she's an author, a master trainer, a content creator, a publisher. You do a whole lot, and I probably won't do it justice, but I know the audience is going to want to hear all about it. So, welcome to the show, Ms. King, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, good night, everyone. My name is Kimisha King, and I'm the CEO and founder of Queen's Mindset. I do a lot of things, just like Don Michelle said, quite a lot of things. But I'm from the beautiful island of Barbados. I'm a visionary strategist and a life purpose coach, and it's definitely a pleasure to be here tonight and to be able to share with you guys.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Ms. King. So, you
Thank
said Queen's Mindset. So, I got some questions, right? So, can you
you.
share with us your journey and how it aligns with the mission and vision of Queen's Mindset? What is Queen's Mindset? How did it start? Tell us all about it.
Definitely. So Queen's Mindset actually started back in 2017, and it started off just as an Instagram page because my intention was to just start Instagram and just put out messages, quotes, and stuff to help motivate and inspire women. Because I was at a conference, a convention, and the speaker that was speaking at the time, they said, jump and just pursue that thing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this because I always thought about doing that, but I didn't know how to. And the name just came immediately. It just came to me. I went back to the hotel room and I started the Instagram page. I did a video, and here we go. We have Queen's Mindset, right? But my ideal thought process was it's just going to be one of those pages that people can come to for inspiration. Little did I know that God had a whole nother plan for me, and we started doing so much more after that. We started doing workshops and seminars and conferences, and then we started doing shows and podcasting and live sessions. It just started to branch out. We started doing books and magazines and coaching. I'm like training. I'm like, who, me? I was like, what's happening? But the vision was much bigger than me, and that's what really boosts Queen's Mindset. So our mission is to empower women. It's an empowerment, it's a women's empowerment organization where we help women to birth their dreams, birth their vision, and walk in their purpose. So that has been my pursuit from the time we got started. And it has never been easy, of course, because you're going to have those obstacles and challenges as you go along, because that's how you're going to build. You're building resistance because you're building muscle in the game. But it has definitely been life changing for me. I can definitely say that it's been life changing. It has been rewarding. Hearing those women who have been blessed by the organization. We recently we just switched the organization, or turned the organization into a nonprofit, because all the work we were doing was really nonprofit work. To be quite honest, we just didn't have it actually registered and all that stuff. So now we have that stuff in place, and we're just there to just help women, to push them into that place so they can give birth. So that's a little bit about Queen's Mindset in a nutshell and what we do. Now back to the first question where you asked, how is it a part of who I am? It's because growing up, I came from a family of dysfunction. So seeing all of that level of dysfunction around me, I decided that I was not going to claim that. I was not going to become what I was seeing. I would sit in front of the television daily, and I just used television to escape. Television was my way out of my reality. And every time I watched shows and I saw families coming together, I saw people living in mansions and, they're dressing well, having that fabulous lifestyle, I started to say, this can happen for me. Nobody told me, Kimisha, hey, these are actors and actresses, some of this is not really real. I just believed it. I was like, okay, so if they're doing this, it means it's happening out there. So I want to be able to do what I'm seeing them do. So I started pursuing better for me, started to pursue a better education. I started to pursue the career that I wanted to be in and the things that I wanted to do so that I can get out of that place that I was seeing around me, that poverty mindset. And then that's what really got me so motivated, so inspired. So it was really in me from a very young age because of what I was introduced to and what I came up in. But what I recognized was that when I would talk with other individuals who I would have deemed as well off or, better than I was, and then when I would say certain things to them, their level of mindset was not where I thought it should have been. Because I'm like, look at you, you're able to travel every year with your family. I can't. And you're able to purchase this thing and that thing. I can. But then the things that they say was almost like, I was like, hold on. I was like, okay, so maybe I need to start, sharing this with other people and help them to have a different level of mindset so they can get to the place that they want to be and not be limited by what they are, where they are at the moment. So my theme became that dysfunction does not define me. And just because that's what I was experiencing in my household, it didn't mean that I had to become that. I had an opportunity to break it and say, hey, I'm not going to accept that. I would deny this thing because there's so much more out there, for me. And that's how I was able to blend who I am with Queen's mindset, because it's really a baby. What do you call it? The birth child, it's really, from me just coming from the level of mindset that I had and what I would put in place. So that's where that came from.
Wow, that's awesome. So you said 2017 is when you kind of started this, right?
Yes,
so
2017.
It sounds like you've grown by leaps and bounds. Like, what has that transition been like? Like, how long did it take to catch? Like, when did people start saying, oh, this Queen's mindset is a thing and I need to be a part of it? Like, when did that happen?
That really started to happen. Let's see, because when I started in 2017, we just had a few persons, more like family and friends, that would come out and they would support me. But something happened in 2020, in 2019, 2018. I did absolutely nothing. And I'll tell you why. Because when I started, I was so excited, about everything that I was doing. And I wanted to collaborate with other individuals who were like-minded as well. And when I reached out to this particular individual, she kind of shut me down, shattered my dreams, questioned whether I was ready, whether I was prepared. And then I started to question myself. Am I worthy? Do I have what it takes to do this stuff? And I did nothing. So I just kind of chickened out for that entire year. But in 2019, then God reminded me that he gave me the dream. And he told me to start again, and do not stop. So I just got started again then in 2019, and it just kind of rolled out for us. And then that's when I started doing the live sessions on our Instagram page. And then people started commenting, people started asking for more. And then I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do next? And then people started asking questions like, how do you get this? How did you do this? And then I started to do a workshop teaching persons how to expand their potential, maximize their potential, how they can achieve other things. And then I recognized, okay, so maybe we need to take some courses, take some more, go and do some more so that I can, strengthen the knowledge that I have, because as we know, knowledge is always increasing every single day. So I started to get in the rooms, rub shoulders with other persons who were doing dynamic things so that I can gain more information, have a greater knowledge. And then I return and I began to teach them what I learned. And so that we continue to build and build and build. And that's kind of how it began to expand a little bit more for us. And then from there, it was the book. So I have actually written three books thus far. And the first book, Journey to 30, when that book came, I was always saying when I was younger, I would say, I'm going to write a book. But somehow I forgot how I said that. Only when the book came out and some of my older friends, from like primary school and high school and stuff started reading, they were like, oh my goodness, I know you were going to do it because you said it, but I totally forgot that I said all that stuff. And I was taking a shower that day and it just came, you're going to write a book, you're going to write it in 3 months, and this is going to be the title. I'm like, I'm not sure I can do this in 3 months, because in my mind, I'm thinking, I never went to school to do journalism. I don't know how to write. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I still have to learn. And I started thinking all these ways and how I was not good enough. And then I told my sister, and I said, okay, let me share it with my sister. Maybe she'll talk me out of it and talk some sense into my head, because, clearly something is wrong here. And I went to her and I told her, and she was like, yeah, I could see you doing this. And I was like, really? I was not expecting her to
Sometimes
say that.
people see stuff we don't see, right?
Yeah. And she was like, yeah, totally. I can see you doing this. And I was like, okay. So now I need to figure out how to get it done. So then I did that and I started figuring out how to get it done. And before you know it, boom, I was able to give birth to the same, but in the same 3 months, that God said I'll do it. And then out of that, I started a publishing company. I'm like, who, me?
Oh,
How is
wow.
it possible? So then
Wow.
I published all of my books, and I'm like, wow, this is just crazy. Like I never expected that. And then God was saying just help other people to publish, but I kept saying all the time to myself, I don't think I'm worthy. So I'll see other people out there who are doing it, and that's all they're focused on. I'm like, maybe people should go to them. Maybe people should do it with them. But God kept saying, you can do it. You can do it. And I just kept downplaying it. And then next thing you know, people started reaching out. They started asking questions. I saw that you wrote your book. Can you help me with this? And I would just give advice. I'll give tips. I'll do all of that for free, no cost and everything, because I'm passionate about it. I love what I do. And I start helping persons. And then God said, when are you going to start the business? When you're gonna put it out there that is actually a business, and just be confident in who I've called you to be. And then I was like, okay. But I kept again telling myself, I'm doing too many things right now. I also have a 9 to 5 outside of everything that I'm doing. I'm also a part of ministry in my church, and I do all these other things. So I started to talk myself out, which is what we do all the time. I just start telling myself all these excuses, all these reasons why it couldn't be possible and it couldn't be me. And God just kept saying, do it. And so then eventually I said, and that only probably happened like last year. And if I'm really honest, where I said, I accept. I
And that's
accept.
all you had to do. That's all you had to do. And it probably took off like that, right?
And then it took off. I just said, I asked God, I accept, because I just kept telling him why I was not the one. Like, not me, you got the wrong one. Like, you must have made a mistake. You saw something you didn't know. But who am I to say that? He's the creator, right? He created me. He obviously, he know what is built within, And so as soon as I accepted that, we just started to roll stuff out. And before you know it, we started doing it, and things just started to work. But it was all because I was kind of fighting the process at the time with not accepting what I've been called to. I allowed the enemy to trick me to think that I was in competition with others, make me think like, oh, if you do that, then people are going to say you're copying them. And it wasn't necessarily that I was copying them. It was just that God was saying, I'm ready for you now. Now is the time. So you have been called, you're gifted with this. And I want you to do it because you've been called to a specific demographic of people. So just because someone else is doing something similar, it doesn't stop you from doing what I have called you to do. What I want you to do is to keep your focus on me so that you remain in your lane. Because as you start looking at others and trying to think, let me try this, you start to divert over the other side, you're going to crash. You're going to cause an accident. So I was like, okay, God, okay, I'm going to do that then. I'm going to do that.
That's awesome. Like, I love the fact that, it's unfortunate, but a lot of times people gatekeep. And it sounds like you had that situation happen to you. I had it happen to me years ago. I needed help with something, and I went and asked somebody who I looked up to who was doing in the similar industry. And I said, hey, can you show me how to do this? I'll pay you. And shut me down. So I figured it out on my own. But I think you get more when you're open, and there's room for everyone, right? Nobody can be you. So you bring your uniqueness to whatever you do. So good for you. I'm all about that. So, all right. So in your experience, what are some common challenges women face when trying to become the best person that they desire? And how does Queen's mindset address the challenges that those women face?
I love that question. Some of the challenges that I've recognized that are out there is similar to what I said, that competition. When women start to focus on that, like they feel as though I have to exceed this person, or I have to do more than this person. And it's not that. Is what you have to do is to exceed who you were yesterday, become a better you. That's all you have to do. And that's all you have to do. And that has been one of the challenges that I have been met with as I work with women. And then the other major challenge is that a lot of women are they are struggling with rejection. They're struggling with that because they have so much trauma in their life, whether it was from their home coming up in that level of dysfunction similar to me, or maybe they faced it into relationships, and then they don't know how to deal with it, and sometimes they kind of tell themselves that they're done or that they have gotten over it, and then you see traces of it just coming back, and where they begin to self-sabotage, because rejection is such a serious thing that they don't want to be hurt. They don't want to be ostracized. So let me put myself in a corner, let me separate myself from everyone, or let me go down that road of blaming someone for something so that I don't have to face what I am being faced with. And that's what I've been recognizing that has been happening a lot, with women. And then one of the other things was the same abandonment issues, that daddy issues. That's a serious thing. Not having the father figure in your life, not having someone to show you what love is, what does it mean to be loved, not having those things coming, they start to search for it in the wrong places. And then they have been through so many things. A lot of women have been abused sexually. They've been abused verbally, and they've been abused, and all that abuse that they've been through, they just come in beaten and wounded, and they feel as though somehow they've just been let down. And that's what I have been seeing a lot that's been happening with women, which kind of had me questioning God in terms of, hey, okay, I'm a visionary strategist. I'm helping people to, to exceed and expand and build the goals and get the results, get to the next level, apply the things that I did myself. But then here you are, you're connecting me with all of these women who are battered and bruised, and you're saying to me, I want you to work with them. Like, hold up. Then the title has to change, right? But then God told me, no, the title doesn't have to change. You are a visionary strategist, but you can't help someone to see something that I've built in them if they're wounded, if they're caught up in trauma. Because what happens is that they're bound, and until they come out of that place, it's only when they can execute the vision. A person who is wounded is not going to have the same mindset as someone who's on the outside. The perspective will always be different. So when I understood that, I was like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like working backward first, and then we come forward. And that's what I've been doing with women. That's how I've been working it with them. And once we get to that place where they get that healing, where they get that ease, and they get that peace, now we can start talking about, let's build a goal, let's build a dream, let's execute the plan, because now it's so much clearer, and they identify and they can accept, because now they understand I'm worthy of more. But if I don't believe that I'm worthy of more, and I come to you and I tell you all these plans and all these things that you can get, you're going to think I'm crazy, because you're like, no, I'm not worthy for that. You're not going to accept that. So that's what I have been recognizing that has been happening. And that's how we've been working with women to get them to that place.
Wow. There's definitely a need for it, because there are a lot of women who, and I think we've all been through it at some stage in our life, right? Where we just did not believe and didn't think we were worthy. So what kind of strategies or tools does Queen's Mindset provide to help these women clarify their visions and take actionable steps towards, achieving those goals?
So some of the strategies that we use is the one working backwards that I shared earlier. And the next thing is that we really connect them with God first. That's like my biggest strategy, honestly. I know a lot of people say that this time, no, God is the flex, honestly, because if we don't start there, then we don't know, because he's the one who created them, right? He knows exactly who they've been called to be. He knows where they're called to go, what they're called to achieve. So I help them to reconnect with God. One of my books that recently came out is called 7 Days of Intimacy with God. And it's about helping them to find that intimacy. And I know when I start off there with most women, some of them kind of question it, because they're expecting me to do something else that they've seen on the outside. But I understand, for what God has taught me is that I can't take anyone anywhere until they have accepted who God has called them to be. So when I get them to the source, then I can provide a resource, because he now is able now to show me how to help them to get to that next level. So that's one of our main it's a weapon actually, that we use to help women. And once we do that, we find them being more open, you find them thinking bigger, and then I walk them through those steps of faith. Because as a visionary strategist, one of the things that I had to do as I went through my process is that I had to apply a lot of faith. I needed faith, I needed belief, I needed to trust. Those are like some of the main things, that the tools that I help to teach them. And I know most times when people hear it, they go like, okay, everybody hears about faith, everybody knows trust, everybody knows belief. So what really is that? How is that really a tool? But it really is a tool, because the Bible tells us faith without works is dead. And if you are believing God to do something for you, then you act as though it's already happened. Because, you go to the Father, you said, I want this, I want that. You just think about just going to our earthly dad. If you say, Dad, can I have this? You expect that he's going to say yes, he's going to give it if it's something that is as a necessity. So when we do that, then you are able not to build on that faith, build on that belief, build on that trust. And when you begin to build here, you understand now that there's no limit. So that's where now I'm able now to help them to open up their minds, because they understand that there's no limit with God. So anything that I want to be able to achieve, I can get it with God if I go to him. And then the other thing is to understand that we must be able to walk in the will of God. And when we walk in the will of God, then we're able to even experience more. So it's about helping to teach them how to do that. How does someone really walk in the will of God? You begin to submit. And most women, we have a challenge with that. We don't like to submit, especially if we're independent. You're like, who? No, I got this on my own. I'm not submitting to anyone. But we can't submit to even our husbands if we don't even know how to submit to God. And so we go there first and teach them how to do that. And then once we're walking in that path, then we find it's a lot easier for them to roll things out step by step through our coaching programs. We have a boot camp called 7 Days of Intimacy. It takes them on a journey where they start to love themselves again, rediscover who they are, fall in love with you. And then once you do that, you're able now to start to build and to roll out. So those are some of the strategies that we have been utilizing, that has been bringing us much success with these women.
That's a good lineup. So now I know you said a lot. You said visionary strategist a lot. Can you tell us what that actually means? And in a life purpose coach, what does that mean? How do you support women in birthing their visions and walking in their purpose through these roles that you have?
That I have. Yeah, because so as a visionary strategist, the definition really of a visionary strategist is the person who is able to see the thing that you might not be able to fully see as yet. You have an idea, but you don't know how to get there. So the visionary strategist, I come in with the plan. The step-by-step plan that helps you to execute. Many times what I've recognized is that, most persons set goals, not all, but majority of people set goals. But what's happening is that they're setting it in their minds. So they have an idea, okay, I want to get this house, I want to get this car, I want to go this place, I want to do that, but nobody's writing it down. And the Bible tells us to write the vision and make it plain so that those who come after that, they can pick it up and they can run with it. So if you're not writing anything down, then you're not beginning to fully begin to plan. But then there are the others who actually, they move from the mind and they begin to go to the paper and they actually write it down. But then after that, that's it. It's like they write it down and they forget about it. Nobody's following a step-by-step plan. Everything starts off in January and we go like, yeah, this is my resolution. I'm going to do this, write it down. And then the next month comes and they're like, they forgot what they write. They didn't have any plans in place. And then there's no step process. So I teach them now how to celebrate the small wins because most times we're not doing that. because we're expecting the bigger win. So if you have a plan, let's say, for example, I want to be able to travel next year. So I want to travel to Dubai. I've never been to Dubai. I want to go to Dubai. The next question I'm going to ask, what are some of the things that you need to put in place to get you to that place? And you might say, okay, maybe you have a job, but is the job paying you enough that you can be able to start to save or to invest so you can get to that place? How much money do you need to invest a month or a week? What are some of the things that you need to do? You know, like those steps, because many times we don't think down to that nitty gritty. And I think that's a good and a bad thing about me, because my sister always tell me, oh my goodness, you are always running the numbers. Because I'm always thinking ahead. Like when I have to make decisions or do something, trust and believe, I've thought that thing all the way through to the ground, because I'm going through the step-by-step plan of how I think it's supposed to work. And that's what I'm teaching them. So then we start to build that out. Okay, so what are the steps you need to take? How much money do you need? How can you start to put this in place? What are the things that you need to do? Because if you're going to get anything that you've never had, you have to do something that you've never did.
You say that one more time.
If you're going to get anything that you've never had, you have to do something that you've never did.
Amen.
It's not going to just come, not just because you said you want it. God is going to be like, okay, have it. You know, but are you prepared? You know, are you equipped to handle it? So then I have to teach them that. And then the other thing is that I have to teach them how to be resilient. And somebody would say, how do you teach people that? Easy, because we're building resistance. You know, resilience is building resistance. If you go to the gym and the first day of the gym and you haven't never been for a long time, when you come back, you're going to feel that muscle bump. You're going to feel sore and you're going to feel like, oh my goodness. But that's exactly what you need to feel. So if when you start to feel as though, oh my God, I'm kind of defeated. I don't know if this can happen. I don't know if this can work. You're in the right place. Because that's where it begins. So we teach them to build resistance. And then when you start at that place and you get that setback, then what's going to be your comeback? You have to have something where you get up and you move again. What's going to be the next step? Because it's not about you taking 20 steps. It's just about taking one step. So we teach them how to take that one step and how to get those things there. And then it begins to come into place. So it's really, it takes a lot. It really does takes a lot, because you're managing personalities as well. You know, everybody has a different personality. Everybody has a different mindset. But what I have found is that when most people do come and they do go through the coaching or the training, they already come with an open mind. So they already come expecting that something, you know, they're expecting something to happen, and that helps. So then once they are teachable, then we can get them to that next place and help them to really execute. So that's how we do it. And that's what being a visionary strategist really is.
Okay. And how is that in conjunction with being a life purpose coach?
It blends really well, because the life purpose coach helps them to identify who and what they have been called to. Because it's really looking at, you know, what's really your purpose in life? What have you been called to? We know that we all have a purpose, but many times we are unsure. And the simple way to help you to identify that is, what is that thing that, you know, that you can do every single day, even if you don't get paid? What's that thing that if you walk into a room and it you know, it bothers you if it isn't fixed or isn't right, you know, okay, this is that thing. That's what you call to, that you can do so naturally because you're gifted in it. That's really what you've been called to. And sometimes it can be more than one thing, you know, because God gives us more than one gift. Everybody doesn't get the same, you know, and it's okay if you are called to more than one thing. It's just because your reach is greater. That's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, I understand that. You know, I think one of the things that I love doing, I am an event planner. I love planning weddings. I love planning it could be 2 people, it could be 2,000 people. I knew that that's what I wanted to do because I could do it and not get paid. Or like you said, I will walk in a room for somebody else's event, and if something is off, I'm trying to fix it. And I know it's not, and people be like, what are you doing? It's not your event. I'm like, I don't care. If it was mine, I would help me, you know, so I definitely understand that. Awesome. That's awesome. So how do you help women clarify their visions and define actionable steps to bring them to fruition?
I love that question. Clarity really comes in acceptance. So you get clarity when you accept that you have been called. That's like the first step.
Mm.
Many times we're battling because we don't believe that we're worthy. We don't believe we've been called. Now, once we accept that we have been called, then we need now to identify what is the thing that we have been called to. And that comes down with me helping them to point them in that direction, what that purpose is and what God has called them to. And when you get that, then that kind of open the door to clarity. The next steps come now when I teach them how to go to that place where they begin to build the intimacy with God, because God begins to speak to them. It's really not my role to begin to speak to them. I'm just here to guide them. And as they build that the capacity with God, that level of intimacy with Him, He begins to download and then they're able to say, oh my God, I feel this thing tugging at me, like God is saying to do this, to do that. Yes, you're in the right place, because now you are getting clarity of who you've been called to and where you need to go. And then I come in just to really just kind of like hold their hands along the way, help to guide them so that they're able then to get to the place where they have been called to. And that's how we bring the clarity for that.
Do you ever find, do you get some clients that come in and they're a little resistant, like at first, because they're like, listen, I just need you to tell me X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3, so I can get to my goal. Do you have to like back them up and say, hey?
I haven't had many persons like that. I probably have 1 or 2 persons who probably made comments similar to that in like probably like a group session. But most of those one-on-one sessions that we would have had, those persons come already, they're teachable and they're willing to learn, what you have. But I do suspect that some of those people will come, because we know we have different personalities and should I have get someone, it means know that they're struggling with impatience, and that's what's really clogging, their level of clarity. I identify with that really well because I was there. I'm like, okay, let's get to it. Let's tell me what's next. No, I don't want you to take me all around. Don't give me all the details. Just give me straight. Just give me it straight. And there are persons like that. We call that the choleric personality. That's the person that just wants to get there, and it kind of help them by helping them identify who they are, which is why I love the boot camp that we have for the 7 days of intimacy, because we help to teach them what is your personality trait, what is your love language. And many times when I teach them that aspect of the love language, they're like, okay, well, I was not expecting that to be in here. But understanding how we love and how we receive love helps us to understand why we do the things that we do, because it's about the psychology of it all, right? Understanding who you are, how you operate, and then you understand where you go and why you do the things that you do, and then we start to correct those things so that your mindset now begins to change, and that's how that works for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you give to women who maybe feel stuck or uncertain about their direction in life? They're struggling to identify their vision, their purpose. They're not sure where to start. Like, what kind of advice would you give to someone like that?
Great question. My advice to that person who just, they just feel stuck right now and they don't know what to do. I'll first ask them to just take a minute. And that's the first thing. Just take a minute, just take a break and kind of quiet the noise that is happening around you, because what's happening is that you're being persuaded by everything that's happening, because you're seeing everyone doing things and you feel as though you've been left behind. You feel as though something is wrong with you. So my first response is nothing is wrong with you. You're in the right place at the right time. We just need to quiet the noise now, and then we begin to provide clarity. So the question is, what is that one thing that you really want to do? That one thing that you believe that you've been called to because you're very passionate about it, is that thing that you know that you would love to do. What is that? And then once you can identify what that thing is, my next question is, what is stopping you from doing it? And then you begin to draw those things down. What are these things? What are the obstacles right now that are blocking me? And you may say, okay, Kimisha, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I need a job. I need all that. I know you may start to say all those things. And as you begin to list those things, then we start to see how we can switch that. Because if you say to me that you don't have the time, you don't have to have the time, you make the time. And if you say to me, I don't have the money, you don't have to have the money will come. Because if you are valuable, which you are, people will pay for value. So you just need to show up. So the question would be, what is it that you need to do? How can you strengthen the craft that you are currently working on so that you become an expert in your field, so that people choose you over another voice because they understand the value that you carry? One of the things that I was taught by my business mentor, one of the things that he would always instill in my head over and over: Kimisha, people pay for value. If you're not giving them value, they're not going to pay. And you have value. So identify what it is that you have that sets you apart from everyone else. And then you use that thing and you build on that. You expand on that. You become the best person you can ever be in that area, in that field, in that thing that you have, so that people know, if I need this thing, I have to get Kimisha. I have to get that person who's listening right now. I need you because you're an expert in that field. And then we start to help you now. How do you go about doing that? What are some of the things you may need to say? Okay, I need to do some research here. I need to gain some information here, because you're building your knowledge in the area. You may need to connect with some more persons. You may need to shift your environment. The people who you may be hanging around right now may not be the best people for you based on where you want to go. And I know that's a struggle, because when you start to elevate, it means that you have to leave some things behind. And when you have to leave some things behind, people start to make comments. They say, oh, you think you're better than us? Oh, you this and you that. And then you start to feel bad about it, because now they're attacking your character. You start to question yourself. But I'm just here to tell you that there's not everyone that's supposed to come along. Some people are only with you for a season, but for a time. And then you have to know when the season has come to an end, and you have to be willing to close the door. Because if you're going to get on the other side of the room, you're going to have to cross over. And if you're going to cross over, not everyone wants to cross over that bridge. Now, some people are still scared. Some people are still, they have a lot of emotions that they're dealing with. But you're the one that's been called to the other side. So you now have to accept and say, okay, yes, I'm going to go. And you don't need to know all the answers. So that's one of the things that we're struggling with too as well. We're struggling with trying to figure out how would it work. I know, I've been there. We're asking ourselves, okay, how would this work? How would this do? And we want to know all the answers, and you don't need to know all the answers. You just need to say yes and accept. And when you do that, things begin to unfold for you. And that's where you become unstuck. Because now the clarity is there, the perspective begins to change. It's all about changing the mindset and how you see it. I've had persons who struggle with the term calling themselves millionaires because of what they read in the Bible, which they read incorrectly, because the love of money is the root of all evil. Are you reading that right? That's not what it really means. What you're saying, that's not what it really means. It's talking about the love of it. If you begin to worship it, if you begin to put it above God, that's when it becomes the root of all evil. But it never says that you can't be rich. It never says that you're not meant to be a millionaire. And many times, especially Christians, because most of the women I deal with are Christians, they have that fear where they think that I can't become a millionaire because it's like I have the love of money and it's a problem. No. The Bible tells us money answereth all things. What is happening? Money is just like oxygen. Stop breathing and you'll see what happened. The money and you'll see what happened. You need money to do everything. So why would God not want you to make more of it? It doesn't mean that it becomes your focus, because if you are gifted in the area, you're in pursuit of something, you're doing it because the love of it. It's just money is just attached to it, but it's not the main thing for it. To change your mindset. And when you do that, you open up some doors. And that's how you become unstuck. That's how you become unstuck. Their main thing is to start with clarity, and that's how you get there.
I know that's right. You were saying some words tonight that I personally needed. So thank you. So tell us about your journey to 30, The Naked Truth, I Am You. Tell us about that book.
Definitely. So Journey to 30, The Naked Truth is a book that I wrote about. It's really my life story up until the age of 30. Everything that I would have been through. It talks about the level of dysfunction that I would have experienced within my family growing up. I remember I saw my mom and dad almost every night, they're having arguments. And I was just thinking like, oh my goodness, my mother, she doesn't like my dad at all. You know, and I'm like, why don't you like my dad? Like, I'm my daddy's girl. So I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm thinking like something's wrong with her. But I didn't understand that what my father was doing is that he was cheating on my mom. And he cheated on her repeatedly, you know, for over a period of years. I think about 13 years she was with him. And it wasn't that she stayed because she was low in self-esteem or anything. She stayed because she thought that, you know, if I stay, if I kind of build, I want to have that family unit, you know, most things like what women think. And she was thinking, I want to stay because I want our family to be together. I don't want to have that separation. And my father actually went out. I actually have a sister outside, you know, my mom and my dad, and they're just like weeks apart, literally weeks apart. And I didn't understand all of that I was seeing happening around me. Then I would see constant arguments and different things happening. In the book, I talk about, you know, that day when I was at home, 4 years old, at the table, just coloring with my coloring book, and I heard a loud commotion coming from the kitchen, which was just steps away because our home was pretty small. And when I walked to the kitchen and I saw my grandmother and my mom, they were having an argument. My grandmother, she took the hot boiling water off the stove and just tossed it at my mom. And my mother, in her reflexes, she just grabbed the hot food off the stove and she tossed it back at her. And I couldn't understand, why is it that this is happening? Why is it that nobody's getting along? Why is it that they're being like that? So all of that stuff I talk about in my book. I talk about the, you know, me having to build myself up, because then people will say, oh my God, you're so confident. And I had to become confident because I saw what was happening around me, not just with my mom, but, you know, with my other family members. I saw what was happening in my community, and I decided I was not going to be a product of that. So I was going to be confident. I was going to speak the things that I wanted. I was going to affirm some things. I didn't know that what I was doing was affirming, you know, or what I was doing was setting goals. I would write things on the door. I would stick things in the room. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of flowing. It's only when I got older now and I'm like, oh, I was visualizing. I was doing this, that. It didn't have a name for me, but it's what kept me sane. And one of the best things that my parents did for me was that they put me in church. They ensured that I go to church. My dad being a 7 days Adventist, mom Pentecost. I went to church Saturday and Sundays, and I loved it. I was the child that loved church. I would go to church very willingly, and if I couldn't go, I'll cry because I wanted to be there. And having that relationship with God is really what helped to build me, and that's what kept me. And all of that stuff is what you'll see in Journey to 30, The Naked Truth. I Am You.
Oh, wow. All right now. And where can folks find this? Is this on your website?
Yes, you can actually purchase from our website, or you could go to Amazon and you can get a copy there. If you're here in Barbados, you can get a signed copy from me. You can just reach out to me via WhatsApp. That's 258-3544. Or you can actually send us an email at infoqueensmindset@gmail.com.
I might ask you that again in just a moment, just in
That's
case we need to give people time to get something to write with. So tell our audience about your blog, the Sisterhood blog. Tell me a little bit about that.
Definitely. So we have a sisterhood blog. It's actually right now we're on break, but the sisterhood blog is an opportunity for women to tell their stories. Again, what I love about this is helping to push women out there. So as you tell your story, you're telling your story, whatever that story is, a story of resilience, a story of strength, you know, a story of healing, a story of love, whatever your story is. And what we'll do every week, and it comes out every Monday, article comes out, it goes live on our website, and you tell that story. We don't give you a particular topic to talk about. We allow you to select from the things that we have listed. Everything is geared to empowerment. We're looking at empowering women. So we talk about finances, we talk about ministry, we talk about love, we talk about health, we talk about wellness, you know, we talk about career, you name it. We talk about family, we talk about marriage, divorce, all that stuff we talk about, and we just get women to do it. So if you're watching now and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to be a part of this sisterhood blog, I want to be a writer for it, you can just send us an email as well, infoqueensmindset@gmail.com. And once you send us that email, we'll be able to tell you when it's starting back again, and then you can start submitting your articles, and then we let you know when it's coming out so that your article will be posted and persons can go on, they can see it, and they can comment and have a conversation about what you shared.
Providing a platform. I love it. That's awesome.
Yes.
So finally, tell me, what are some of the upcoming projects or initiatives you're working on to further support women in their journey and living in their purpose?
Absolutely. So we are actually right now, we have our show Battered Bruised Not Broken. That's our YouTube series. Right now we're on season 6. We're getting ready to close out at the end of this month. We'll be finished. We have 2 more episodes to come, and it's just getting so good. It's really good. And I'm not just saying that because it belongs to me, but because of these women who are sharing. We have women from all walks of life. They come on, they tell their stories of various adversities that they've been through. They tell how they're overcome, and it's very empowering, it's very healing, and it helps those women to be able to get to that next step. The next thing that we have coming up at the end of this month is 3-day conference. It's called Birther of Nations, and this conference is going to be dynamic. I call it the labor room. I'm telling you, because we have identified some powerful women of God who are going to be there each night. They'll have a night. We have Minister Stacy Ann Davis Walters. She's going to be there. We're going to also have Prophetess Joy Solomon. We're also going to have Prophetess Sylvia Castello, and they're all dynamic women in their own sphere. And what they're going to be doing is helping those women to be able to birth that thing what's on the inside of them. So we're looking at it from 3 different points. We're starting with the pains that a woman carries when she's getting ready to give birth. So if you think about literally just being pregnant, that's really how we're laying it out there. And that's how that's happening on that night, 3 nights for that. And then the next thing that we have is coming up in June. June 29th, that's our Ladies Buffet brunch is happening, and that's going to be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. right here in Barbados at the Savannah Beach Club Hotel Resort, and that's going to be dynamic. We're dealing with that strong woman syndrome, so it's going to be really good because we're getting those women in the room. We're expecting 100 women in the room, and with those women, we're having the speakers. We're having Margaret Innes. She's going to be our featured speaker, and then we're going to hear from Apostle Chantel Bass. We're also going to have Sharon Rose Gittins, and then we're going to have Sonia Cadogan as well, because we're going to have a panel discussion where we're really addressing the root of this whole strong woman syndrome thing there. And then we're going to have a segment where we call the push, and that's where we're going to invite the midwives to come and to just be there with the women, pray them through whatever they need at that time to help them to get to that space where they need. So it's going to be dynamic. And then after that, coming up, we have so many things. I'm just going to cut it short because I'm like, oh goodness, we have so many things, and we have something else special that we're working on. It's coming out in December. I can't speak on it yet, but it's coming in December. It's going to be dynamic. It's even blowing my mind right now. Recently, just became partners with Daily Faith Network and also Power Influence Radio, where we have partnered with them, and we've been able now to carry our stories from our show series that's going to be aired through the radio station and also on the television as well. You can watch it on Roku. You can watch it on, if you have the Fire Stick, Amazon Fire Stick, or Apple TV, you can watch us there too as well. Look for the Queen's Mindset Hour. All of everything will be up there. So we have that. And then you'll just have to tune in on our website and check us out for all the other events that we have. So I don't overwhelm you here tonight, but we have some really great things coming up in the pipeline.
That's amazing. All I can say is dust off your passport, do a rush service to get your passport renewed. Do what you got to do. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening out in Barbados, but there's also some virtual stuff going on too, right? So they can reach out to you at your website. I have it on the screen right there. So tell them one more time, or I don't think we said, what's your Instagram, so they know how to reach you or follow you there and support you in your YouTube as well.
Definitely. So you can follow us on Instagram at Queen's Mindset. Facebook is also Queen's Mindset. You can also follow us on YouTube at Queen's Mindset as well. If you want to be a part of our community, we have a private community on Facebook. It's called Queen's Mindset Community. Just once you type it in, you'll find us. Go ahead and just click it. Join us. There's so much happening in this space. You can be a part of that group too as well. Or if you want to send us an email, it's infoqueensmindset@gmail.com. infoqueensmindset@gmail.com.
Well, thank you. All I can say is thank you. Because whenever I do these interviews, I never know what type of blessing I'm gonna get, but I always get some type of blessing. So
Yeah.
you definitely motivated me, and I'm sure you've motivated a lot of people who are watching, even those who are gonna watch it later or on YouTube, or don't have time or can't actually tune in live. But this does live on our SwagHer YouTube page, and there's so many blessings and so many just jewels of information and just motivation that you provided this evening, um, for people to just get out of their own way. And what they
Yeah.
say, let go and let God. So a lot of
Mhm.
times we don't do that. So, and to know that there is someone out there who really means what she says and is
Mhm.
there to help guide and help you find your purpose and help you act on those things. So I just thank you for being who you are and providing the service that you are providing. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And I know you said there's some stuff coming you can't talk about yet, so y'all better
Yeah.
just go to the website and make sure you stay tuned. Kimisha King, thank you so much for being my guest tonight on What's Going On. I think you're amazing. I wish you nothing but the best in all of your
Thank you.
endeavors. Okay, so thank you again
Yeah.
for being with us here on Swagger Mag.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you for joining us again. I'm your host, Dawn Michelle. I'll see you next time on What's Going On.